New OC sprites are certainly amazing, but at the cost of lag on my editing software till I render the sequence.
A small price to pay for salvation.
3, 2, 1.
I am going to be on a mission and fix every Pokemon Champions team based on whoever Bulbapedia says is one, plus a few more I added just for fun. Because let's face it, every champion has at least one or two things we would want to fix about their team, so that's why we're here today. The criteria for this fixing of teams is going to be a little tricky, but I think I've formulated a middle ground of sorts.
Number 1. I am only looking at the champions when they were champions the first time you faced them. So stuff like rematches, the World Tournament from Black and White 2, or any later appearances won't be accounted for. But, and this is a big but, if their teams are significantly different between the original and the remakes, we'll stick with whatever team they stick with in later appearances. That sound fair? I can also look at the anime as well for reference. Number 2. Champions can only use their respective regional Pokédex, not just any Pokemon they want. I was considering region-exclusive Pokemon, but using the regional dex can give them more options. Number 3. Adjustments to teams will be made based on a champion's personality, fighting style, and all that jazz as close as humanly possible. Sometimes I'll even reference Pokédex entries from the games if they can relate to a champion's character. Thematic references for the win, baby! Number 4. If champions specialize in a certain type, like Wallace and Iris, we'll keep a core of 3 to 4 Pokemon of their specialized type, just so they can mix things up a little bit. Number 5. Each champion will have the party size maximum of 6 Pokemon. I won't be going into detail about their moves, natures, abilities, and all that unnecessary filler, unless it is significant enough to discuss. You'll see some examples later on. Otherwise, we'll be here for a whole week. And number 6. A champion's ace Pokemon will not be touched, because they define who they are way more than the rest of their team. Before we finally start, please keep in mind that this took me several weeks of research, and you're not going to agree with me with everything I say, as this is my own take on the matter. So please leave a comment on what adjustments you'd make, and let's have a thoughtful discussion. Also, please make sure to like and subscribe as well if you enjoy this video, as it helps me out a lot, and hit the notification bell for notifications on all my future videos. This is going to be a long one, so grab some grub, get comfortable, and let's fix all these teams. Starting with... Obviously, first up, we have the champions of Kanto, starting with Blue from Red, Blue, Yellow, and the remakes Fire Red and Leaf Green. Blue, in the simplest of terms, is a jerk.
He's an asshole.
He's very cocky, with a primary motivation to become the greatest trainer of the region. He's also not exactly the friendliest fella out there, typically with his signature "smell ya later" or "farewell." He takes so much satisfaction and glee from being one step ahead of you at every chance he possibly gets, beating all the gym leaders and Elite Four before you do, and being all smug about it to your face. Even his granddad, Professor Oak, smacks some sense into him and deems Blue to have not realized how to care for Pokemon, which he commends the player for. The little bastard. And yes, he does get better in later appearances, but remember, we're not looking at those. So any development he does get in later games will not be accounted for here. So looking at his team, depending on which starter you take, he'll have a core of Pidgeot, Alakazam, Rhydon, the starter with an advantage over yours, and a pair combination of Gyarados, Arcanine, and Exeggutor. As for which team to choose, well, based on the anime and Pokemon Origins, let's just go with Blue's team with Blastoise as his ace for the sake of this video. The fight already is a great one, as there's not much in my eyes that needs improvements, as Blastoise, Arcanine, Exeggutor, and Alakazam fit well in the Fire, Water, Grass core, plus Alakazam cause, well, it's Gen 1 and it's Alakazam. There are, however, 2 glaring weaknesses, Rhydon and Pidgeot. Rhydon doesn't give the team much in terms of defenses, and there's definitely a better ground-type replacement for Rhydon who also fits Blue's character, Nidoqueen. Nidoqueen are pretty persistent and stubborn fighters, never giving up till the end, and since Blue is someone who prides himself on how he's ahead of the player alongside his stubborn attitude, Nidoqueen sounds like a more appropriate fit than Rhydon. 4 times weakness to water and grass be damned. I know Giovanni already has a Nidoqueen, but it just really fits Blue's character. Plus, he's appeared with one in the anime before, so I'm gonna go with it. As for Pidgeot, who's just bad, I think something like Tauros could be a better mon if he's gonna have a normal type. A fast, hard-hitting physical attacker that's also ferocious in nature, and a warning sign to others that Tauros are about to charge with astonishing speed. You could say this matches with Blue's constant not taking care of his Pokemon motif that Oak brings up at the end of Red, Blue, and Yellow, and with its expansive move pool, Tauros can definitely serve as a coverage Pokemon for his team's weaknesses. So yeah, this is my take on an improved team for Champion Blue. Now maybe he can stop being less of a dick and more caring towards his team.
You useless, ungrateful maggot!
Now we have Trace, your main rival and champion in Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee. Trace overall is a good-natured kid, if not a little cowardly, and by good-natured, I mean he is the laddest of lads. After learning about Team Rocket's deeds, he adopted the Cubone in Lavender Town whose mother died trying to protect it into his party and turned him into a badass Marowak, which gave Trace the resolve to become a braver, stronger trainer, eventually helping the player to fight Team Rocket at Silphco, fighting Archer, and then holding off the admin while you confront Giovanni. The guy's just a bro being a bro, assisting you with advice and items as you travel around Kanto for like the 20th goddamn time. I know I'm exaggerating, but seriously, Game Freak, enough is enough already! As for Trace's team, it's pretty well balanced, but also a pretty easy fight, consisting of Pidgeot, Vileplume, Rapidash, Slowbro, Marowak, and either Jolteon or Raichu depending on your starter. In my opinion, the ones who stuck out to me were Vileplume and Pidgeot. Again, they're the only ones I feel like that don't fit Trace or his team. I don't know, maybe the fact that Vileplume paralyzes or poisons its prey once after attracting them with their petals, and Pidgeot just being bad, doesn't sound good-natured to me, or even helpful. So instead of Vileplume, how about Clefable? It's pretty timid in nature, which is similar to Trace's cowardice at times, given they both would be lacking confidence to do what they want to do. Plus, in the Let's Go games, Clefable is a fairy type and still knows grass type moves like Solar Beam. As for Pidgeot, even with the Mega Stone it has, there's still better choices, so let's go with Snorlax. I know it doesn't fit Trace's personality that well, but the guy could use a brute like him alongside his Marowak, so this is how I think you can improve Trace's team. Could use it anyway, he's super easy to beat. Now we're gonna head west to Johto. Ah yes, Lance, the dragon-obsessed man himself from Gold, Silver, Crystal, and their remakes. He mainly raises dragon-type Pokemon and Pokemon with a dragon-like appearance, and prefers their superiority as he believes they're virtually invincible. Yeah, just wait till I throw an Ice-type your way, man. He's known for being a pretty respectful and noble person, who's serious about his training and will not hold back his strength when it comes to battling any challengers. He even proved to Silver how poorly he was training his Pokemon. And even he, a criminal mind you, eventually learns to treat his Pokemon well, since it's shown later that he has a Crobat, which can only be obtained through enough friendship. Who led him down that path of redemption? Lance did. What a bro. As for his team, he has 3 Dragonites, Charizard, Gyarados, and Aerodactyl. A pretty powerful team, but ultimately lacking in diversity. In Red, Blue, Yellow, when you fight him in the Elite Four, he has 2 Dragonairs and a Dragonite. Why his Dragonairs evolved before they're supposed to, which is level 55, I have no freaking idea. There are theories about those Dragonair being exposed to Team Rocket's machine that let Pokemon evolve earlier than normal, but again, that's just a theory. So honestly, I feel like having at least 2 Dragonites and the other dragon in the region, Kingdra, could potentially be better given that he now only has 2 Pokemon quad weak to ice. Huzzah? Now let's look into non-dragon types who have dragon-like appearances. And to be honest, that's almost a stalemate. We're keeping Gyarados and Charizard since they are part of the Dragon Egg group and have dragon-like features about them, such as Gyarados' serpentine body shape, as well as Charizard resembling that of wyverns. 2 legs, 2 wings, and some kind of pointy tail, and Lance also really likes training those type of Pokemon. As for Aerodactyl, while I do love it, I think a Pokemon that fits Lance's noble, respectful personality is Espeon. Sounds weird for Lance to have, but Espeon is a Pokemon that will remain loyal to its trainer if they are worthy enough, and watching over them essentially makes them a guardian to Espeon. I don't know about you, but if I was someone who taught a criminal the meaning of friendship and treating their Pokemon well, again, Silver has a freaking Crobat, I'd deem them worthy of my loyalty, plus a little type variety wouldn't hurt. And there we go, Lance's team has been fixed. No more 3 Dragonites and being decimated by ice attacks. I was debating putting Red in this video at all, but he is the final battle of the Gen 2 games up at Mount Silver, and is technically a former champion, so why the hell not? Bulbapedia agrees with me, so yeah. Sadly, there isn't much into his character I can look up to since he was essentially you while playing Red and Blue. Curious, naive, wanting to become stronger, taking a mob boss down. I could go into Origins, but he's basically the same as I've described there. He's just us when we're playing Pokemon. It was honestly still such a surprise to see Red at the end of the game after going through all of Johto and all of Kanto. And for his team, going off Heart Gold and Soul Silver, since there's that exception in Rule 1, he has a Venusaur, Charizard, Blastoise, Snorlax, Lapras, and his ace Pikachu. Having all the starters, a Snorlax, and a Light Ball Pikachu certainly gives you a tough fight. Lapras is the only one that feels like it doesn't fit, plus having an additional water type isn't ideal, so let's look for something else. This may sound overpowered, but since Red was mainly to collect all of the Kanto Pokemon, what if we showed that he succeeded by giving him Mewtwo? It's like a perfect Pokemon to encapsulate Red's journey through Kanto and collecting every Kanto Pokemon. Certainly a better choice than Espeon would be for a second type, plus he'd be more of a challenge and be unique in that regard with a legendary, until later on. So yeah, Red's fixed team, everybody. I wonder what happens when he disappears at Mount Silver when you beat him. Now we're moving on to the Hoenn region with Steven Stone from Ruby, Sapphire, and their remakes. Despite his battle prowess as the champion of the Hoenn region, Steven is very down to earth and humble, never really bragging about his abilities, and is usually a quiet and solitary person. He's also wise, knowledgeable, and very generous as he gives the player helpful advice and items. What a great man. If only his team was as good as his character.
You sit on a throne of lies.
You know what, buddy? You may be right. His team in Ruby and Sapphire consists of Skarmory, Claydol, Aggron, Cradily, Armaldo, and his signature Metagross. Steven already has a top 3 team for champions in my opinion. It's versatile, hard to beat, and shows off Steven's specialty and personality well. But I think we can go a little further. To me, I think there is only one thing I would change. Claydol was always a forgettable Pokemon and didn't bring much to help Steven's team. You may be wondering why not Cradily or Armaldo? Well, those two build on his identity as a stone researcher and tie him into the Devon Corporation in Rustboro City. Where else could he have gotten 2 fossil Pokemon? Plus he lacks a special sweeper, so enter Starmie. Aside from the fact that both Starmie and Steven start with the same letters, Starmie gives him a special sweeping option and a Pokemon that can resist one of his team's weaknesses of fire. Plus a hard counter to Blaziken, a powerful starter who just curve stomps his entire team. Except for maybe Metagross. Being a stone researcher from Moss Deep City, known for its space center, it makes perfect sense for Steven to have a stone evolution like Starmie, as well as one that's considered to be an extraterrestrial. So there you have it. This is how you could fix Steven's team. This does make me wonder if Steven could ever dig into more prehistoric fossils like dinosaurs. Next we get Wallace, the champion we have to face in Emerald. This is the one that feels the most unnecessary. I love this game, but why Emerald? Why throw Steven out, put Wallace in his place, then give us another smug-ass water-type gym leader in Juan? Just makes no goddamn sense to me. Then again, Wallace may have rubbed off on Juan a bit being his mentor. Anyways, if I had to sum up his personality, well, Goldmurray, can you help me out here?
You are looking at the very picture of elegance and grace. My condition defines pristine.
Thank you. Still hate you though.
Excuse me, what? What?
Wallace is very elegant, graceful, and a bit flamboyant. While I don't like his kind of personality type, I'll reluctantly give him credit where credit is due, and say that he is at least kind and respectful to the player character, as well as getting a kick out of battling you, expressing his joy and amazement he gets out of battling. His team is a standard water team and ultimately forgettable. Wailord, Whiscash, Ludicolo, Tentacruel, Gyarados, and his trump card Milotic. Wallace definitely took the most time to research for more reasons than just fitting my criteria. This is an exception I'll make when talking about movesets, since as a contest master, his team should not only reflect his elegant and graceful nature, but their moves should also shine in all 5 of the contest categories, which will show off his contest expertise. So here's what I came up with. First is Crawdaunt with moves like Rain Dance, Crunch, and Crab Hammer making him real tough. Second is Ludicolo, who's a real beauty with Ice Beam, Fire Punch, and Hydro Pump. Next is Wishcash, who's a real cute catfish with a Rest and Sleep Talk combo. Now we have our type variety with Dragonair with Thunderwave, Outrage, and Thunderbolt looking all cool out there. Then there's Roselia, a smart little schemer with Aromatherapy, Toxic, Grass Whistle, and Giga Drain. Finally, here's Milotic, who honestly could play well in any of the categories. So here's my way of fixing Wallace's team. Now get this egotistical punk out of my video. Thank you. Oh boy, now we get to the big one. Cynthia from Diamond, Pearl, Platinum, and their remakes. Cynthia is a very powerful, passionate trainer who takes Pokemon very seriously, but is also seen to be a kind person who deeply cares for both Pokemon and her friends. Outside of battle, she's mostly always seen eating ice cream and being a little airheaded and indecisive of what ice cream she wants. I love her. She helps trainers who look up to her, giving them tips on their journeys, like giving the player HMs, a Togepi egg, and the secret potion to cure all those Psyduck blocking Route 210. Her aid even includes assisting the player in filling the Pokedex, but more noticeably in Platinum, appearing at Mount Coronet through the Distortion World when Cyrus wants to destroy the whole universe and make a new one in his image. Cynthia is also very interested in mythology and history, spending her time researching and exploring various sites related to legendary Pokemon. She's the best, y'all, I swear.
That's some girl.
Tell me about it.
When it comes to her team, we're going to go off her Platinum team, which is Spiritomb, Roserade, Togekiss, Lucario, Milotic, and that monster that is her Garchomp. Cynthia probably has the strongest team in the series, a pretty diverse and balanced team with hard-hitting sweepers and tanks. But there's no real theme with her team, so I think we can go a little deeper here. I want her to have a team that exudes more of her design, historical research hobby, and nature of being a serious and scary opponent in battle, while also showing off her caring side. Garchomp and Spiritomb can stay because they are the Pokemon for Cynthia. Lucario and Togekiss can also stay since they show off her kind and caring side being friendship evolutions. Milotic is already another champion's ace, so it shouldn't be here. So instead, for a water type, let's do a Azumarill. Not only is it another friendship evolution from Azurill to Marill, but it's also another tank with Spiritomb with its high HP and not too bad defenses. Plus, its huge power ability would make it a scary Pokemon to go up against. Roserade was a tough one to decide if I should keep or replace, given how it shows off Cynthia's beauty because, guys, you know she's hot. But in the end, I decided to look more into her more mysterious and cold look in her design, replacing her with Gengar. Gengar is a fast, scary opponent who can sweep through a lot of Pokemon. It also gives her a special sweeper to go with her physical sweeper, Garchomp, plus some annoying moves on top of that like Confuse Ray and Will-O-Wisp. And that's how I'd fix Cynthia's team. Though I don't blame you if you think the team is fine as is. It is the best, most difficult champion team after all. Heading over to Unova, we now run into Alder from Black and White, and before you cry foul that N should be on here as well, I'll get to him in a bit. Unlike most other champions, Alder is an aimless wanderer who travels across the Unova region to ease the pain over the loss of his beloved Pokemon, which is revealed in the sequel to be Larvesta/Volcarona, who passed away from an illness. This death of his late partner changed Alder's outlook on life as he didn't want other trainers to feel the same hardships he did. Alder takes his role as champion very seriously as he strives to teach trainers how important it is not to be prideful or power hungry. He is a wise older person with much life experience, and is also kind but passionate at the same time. He even helped Charon grow as a person through his existential crisis he has, and he eventually becomes a gym leader himself. Getsus even suggests that Alder was ultimately requested by the Pokemon League to take the position of champion. It is said that Alder instructed the Elite Four to look after Unova as he traveled around the region. I believe that's not exactly confirmed, but it's still a very interesting part of Alder's character. He even has a grandson in Banga that you can fight in Black and White 2 at the end of the Black Tower/White Tree Hollow. Pretty cool, and so is Alder's lore. Definitely one of the most interesting of the series. Alder's team is okay. Not too difficult, not too memorable, just feels like it's there. He has an Excelgor, Buffalant, Druddigon, Escavalier, Vanillux, and his longtime partner Volcarona. Must have been very underwhelming since they changed every team member except his Volcarona in the World Tournament. Ouch. For Alder, we need a diverse team that reflects his journeys across the Unova region and are nature-esque. Obviously, Volcarona stays since his design and lore are both tied to the Pokemon. I'm also keeping his Buffalant since most Buffalo do a lot of traveling, which fits Alder's traveling nature. Now for two Pokemon that match his design and potential wandering around the sky and underground, Braviary and Gigalith. While he did have a Braviary in Black and White 2, even before those games, Braviary still feels like it fits Alder, and he's not overlapping with other gym leaders since Skyla nor Lenora have one. Gigalith is another Pokemon that feels like it fits Alder, and he could use a tanky, hard-hitting Pokemon, and Gigalith will do just fine. Next, I decided on Galvantula, a fast special sweeper to cover for his team's water weakness and resist fighting types. Which could also explain that he could have ventured off to Chargestone Cave since Wild Joltik are very common there. Lastly, I wanted one more Pokemon for move/type coverage, and I went with Seismitoad, as this is the final piece that binds the whole team together. Alder's team is now finished. If only he'd realized his attempts to hit on Cynthia are getting him nowhere, though at least Cynthia plays along with it because she likes the guy, and that's just wholesome.
Next up, we got N, one of the final battles of Black and White's main story. This may be an odd choice considering he's the first in my video to not be on the Bulbapedia list, but he does defeat Alder to become champion, so I'm counting it. Though I'm not counting Getsis since he just hijacks the plot and becomes the final boss out of nowhere, the fucking dick. N is essentially the anti-hero of this game. Having grown up with abused Pokemon, he had a resentment for humans and was crowned the king of Team Plasma with his goal to become champion and win over the masses with Team Plasma's pretty morbid ideals. While he believes his views are righteous, it does show off his naivete and innocence since he fails to realize he's being manipulated by Getsis, and that his views are pretty extreme since not all humans mistreat Pokemon. His personality shows him off as being quite calm and serious with twisted, ambitious views, and he clashes with the game's themes of truth versus idealism. Either he believes his ideals can lead to a much better world for humans and Pokemon, or believing he knows the truth that Pokemon are suffering while under a trainer's control. He has understandable goals, but ultimately doomed to fail. Such an interesting character. He definitely has the strangest team that I'll be attempting to fix, considering in his final confrontation, he uses one of the legendary dragons, Zekrom or Reshiram, and the fact that his team constantly changes every time you face him. So he doesn't exactly have an ace Pokemon to call his own. His team in his last battle contains either one of those dragons, depending on the version, Caracosta, Vanillux, Klinklang, Archeops, and Zoroark. This is a good team overall, but not one that particularly fits N's character at all. For this battle, he can keep the legendary dragon since it's relevant in the story, and he can keep Zoroark, since N is pretty serious and mysterious himself. His third Pokemon shall be Mandibuzz, which was a very interesting choice after I discovered that Mandibuzz will adopt orphan Volibear from other mothers who lost them and raise them as their own till they're ready to leave the nest. And N is indeed an orphan taken in by Getsis.
Ironic. He could save others from death, but not himself.
Next, I'll give N Scolipede. These Pokemon are known for being tenacious in battle and not giving up until they're victorious, and I feel like this fits N's drive to become more powerful since throughout the game, his friends, aka his Pokemon, aren't strong enough to save all the Pokemon of Unova. For his fifth Pokemon, I'll give him Whimsicott. It's not only another mischievous Pokemon, but it doesn't be mischievous with intentions of harming others if at all, much like how N believes he has good intentions for both people and Pokemon. Finally, the last Pokemon for his team shall be Reuniclus. I know Caitlyn in the Elite Four already has one, but N needs something with a diverse moveset to cover for weaknesses, and Reuniclus should do just fine. And there you have it. This is how I would fix N's team. Man, just talking about N makes me want to make a top 10 video game anti-heroes. All this talk about Pokemon has me exhausted, so let's take a little quick break halfway through and talk about a new series I have on my channel called Insert Title Here, a K-Dog Retrospective. That's not exactly what it's called, it's just a placeholder for whatever I talk about. But basically, I'm going to look into my own personal history of a game or piece of hardware or whatever I talk about, as well as my own personal experiences playing said game or hardware. It's not exactly the most original idea, but it's a nice way to get my thoughts out on a game or piece of hardware without going into full-on review territory. A few of the first games a part of this will be Castlevania, Hi-Fi Rush, Kirby and the Forgotten Land, and Danganronpa, so stick around the channel for those in the near future. With that out of the way, back to our regularly scheduled programming. Alright, next up is the second dragon-loving master, Iris from Black and White 2. Iris is a tomboyish, hyper-young girl who loves adventure. She has an affinity for dragon Pokemon and loves to train and play with them, most likely thanks to her training with gym leader Drayden. She is a kind, helpful, and brave person. She isn't afraid to stand up against evil forces like Team Plasma to help the player, whether it was in Black and White 1 holding off the 7 sages with the other gym leaders, or in Black and White 2, where she helps the player find Team Plasma in Castelia City. She was a former gym leader in the first game at Opelucid City, the 8th gym in that game. After the events of Black and White 1, she defeated Alder in battle after he retired as champion, earning the title for herself. And let me tell you, her team is no joke. In Black and White 2, she has a Hydreigon, Druddigon, Archeops, Aggron, Lapras, and her ace Haxorus. This is one of the best teams a champion has ever had, but we certainly can make it better. For Iris, we're going to keep Hydreigon, Druddigon, and her partner Haxorus. And to round out the Dragon-type core, I'll give her Flygon. It's a Pokemon that can learn moves against Dragon's biggest weakness of ice like Fire Punch, Rock Slide, and Superpower. And it also teams up with Crocodile in the desert to search for food, which I'd say resembles Iris helping the player in Unova pretty well. Lapras will stay since it's another helpful Pokemon this time to people that also matches Iris' helpful nature. Lastly, we'll give her Excadrill, since she not only has one in the anime, but it's a steel type with no quad weaknesses, and can be an interesting pair with Flygon with it having access to Sandstorm, alongside Excadrill's Sand Rush ability, making it very threatening. And that's Iris' team finished. If only I appreciated her more in the anime, because frankly, she disappoints me. Now we're at the Kalos region, and we have Diantha of X and Y. Diantha seems to be a polite and classy woman who talks a little more formally than other champions. She appears in the game as a famous actress and a notable icon across the Kalos region. So notable, she sometimes has to wear disguises to move around in public since she's considered very beautiful by the masses. And this gains way too much attention. I mean, can you blame her? That fairy-like outfit and that face? No wonder she can draw a crowd. Sticks out like a sore thumb. She is also a trainer, obviously, but shows more interest in other trainers who have real potential, like the player character for instance, showing special interest upon their first meeting in Lumiose City. If only her looks could be as gorgeous as her team, because truth be told, her team is easy, not that interesting, and very forgettable. She has a Hawlucha, Tyrantrum, Aurorus, Gourgeist, Gudra, and her Mega Gardevoir. For Diantha, given her appearance, personality, and profession, I want her team to be more fairy tale-like, mythical, and out of this world. Keeping her Mega Gardevoir, Aurorus, and Gudra is a good start, since that can resemble a princess, a dinosaur, and a dragon respectively. From there, we'll be adding Aegislash, resembling a warrior or knight in shining armor, with their sword and shield, which could be an amazing Pokemon to lead with, making her team seem more like a big deal. Then we'll add Vaporeon as a mermaid. Sadly, Primarina didn't exist till the next generation. It gives Diantha a solid tank for her team, and Vaporeon are often mistaken as mermaids because of their long tails rigid with a fin on it. And no, it's not just because a mermaid herself made my logo or anything like that.
So the first thing we see is how we're gonna do it. So let's go.
Hi.
Are you kidding me? Are you kidding? Fine. You little shit.
Love you, Mera. Links to her socials in the description. For Diantha's final party member, I wanted a Pokemon who fit her status as a movie star, and lucky for me, there is a Pokemon that fits this criteria, Excelgor. Why this weird looking ninja thing? Because Excelgor are often featured as a main character in movies or comics to increase popularity in those products, particularly leaning towards young boys. And since Diantha is a trainer and a movie star, this kinda speaks for itself. I personally love this team with a whole movie and fairy tale theme that fit with her character and appearance. Heading out to the Hawaiian-inspired beaches of Alola for our next couple of trainers. Meet Kukui from Sun and Moon. He's the professor of Alola who introduces you to the region. Kukui is seen as a helpful and friendly person, often helping the player throughout their adventure, albeit seeming to be silly and out of his mind sometimes, like right at the beginning of the game where he's taking attacks from a Rockruff. God, you're a massive dork. He has a secret identity where he is known as the Masked Royal, a pro wrestler. However, when confronted, he always tries to deny it. But come on, we all knew he was a former wrestler. He's an extroverted person, active and sociable, who wants to be around other people. Kukui's team consists of Lycanroc, Alolan Ninetales, Braviary, Magnezone, Snorlax, and the starter that's stronger against the one you chose. His team may be diverse in typing, but doesn't take advantage of all that Alola has to offer. We'll keep Alolan Ninetales on the team, and I know his ace is supposed to be whichever starter is stronger than yours, but since he has a wrestler alias, he has to have Incineroar. It just makes way too much sense. I'm also giving him Minior as a lead since it's a silly little guy and his core protected by its meteor form could resemble Kukui trying to hide his wrestling persona from outside the ring. I'll include Machamp as well since it looks like a Pokemon that could be a wrestler in the boxing ring, and I'll have him keep Snorlax since he's known to be a friendly person, hence Snorlax being a friendship evolution. Finally, I'll give him Vikavolt, since most wrestlers in media like the WWE would have rivals to further spice up the show. Not only does the Masked Royal have one in the anime with Ash's Torracat, but Vikavolt and Alola are known to be strong rivals with Pinsir. So I personally feel like this could spice up Kukui's team instead of just most of it being Pokemon from older generations. In Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, the champion is none other than your rival and best buddy, Hau, the first rival champion since Blue. Is there really much I could say about Hau? He's just a Pokemon-loving young boy with a big appetite. And by that I mean he has a big weakness for Malasada, a famous treat in Alola, and he constantly searches for Malasada shops. He has a big heart who really loves Pokemon for the majority of time, though this is because when Hau was a young boy, he spotted his granddad Hala in a furious state, which scared him to the point of even crying in fear. Seeing Hau grow just that little bit more in Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon was really nice to see. Hau is just a good boy who's buffed up since the original Sun and Moon, defeating Grandpa Hala and even Gladion off screen. He has an Alolan Raichu, Noivern, Tauros, Crabominable, the evolution that's stronger than your starter, and the starter that's weaker than yours. We'll keep the starter weak to yours, Alolan Raichu, and Crabominable, since they fit Hau's friendly and lovable personality. I'll also give him Rabombi and Crobat for the same reasons as well, since also that Crobat is a friendship evolution. Finally, I'll give him Mudsdale for type coverage, and this is how I would fix Hau's team. The good boy deserves more than what he got, so I'm fixing that, damn it. Getting closer and closer to the end, folks. We're now at Galar for the champion of Sword and Shield, the Chad himself, Leon. Leon originally started his journey at age 10 with a Charmander, eventually winning the first ever gym challenge and becoming the champion of Galar after Rose saw potential in him. Leon is known as a confident person and trainer, with his undefeated record in Pokemon battles still beaten by the player character, even coming off as a little self-centered sometimes, which makes total sense when you find out that there are only pictures of him at their house and none of his younger brother Hop. Despite this egregious setback, he's still a kind and compassionate person and brother, most notably known during the fight against Eternatus, where he shields Hop and the protagonist with his Charizard from a blast from the extraterrestrial dragon. But you know, although he's referred to as the undefeatable champion and the greatest trainer in all of Galar, I don't believe that one bit because his team is pretty atrocious. It consists of a core of Aegislash, Dragapult, Haxorus, the starter that's stronger than yours, and his partner Charizard, alongside Seismitoad, Mr. Rhyme, or Rhyperior, depending on the starter you chose. I have a real disdain for his team since it has potential but didn't necessarily go all the way. So let's make this team feel like a truly undefeatable one. Starting off with keeping his Gigantamax Charizard, the starter stronger than yours, and Dragapult. These three are safe bets for sure, but how can we work around the last three? First, let's give him Berserker, as an unexpected hard hitter with Steely Spirit, since much like Leon, Berserker are rowdy and live for the thrill of battle. Then we'll add Gallade to the team as a prideful warrior that shows off Leon's compassionate side, since Gallade tends to refuse to attack weaker foes, unless there's some handicap to make the fights fair. For his final Pokemon, let's give him Galarian Darmanitan, which not only fits Leon's friendly personality, but would also be an unexpected surprise since unlike Melanie, this Darmanitan will have the Zen mode ability, adding even more power and speed to the scary physical sweeper. I really like this team. Nice type diversity and a lot of strong and fast Pokemon making for a tough challenge. If only his actual team were any good. which means there's only one region left, and it's time to head for Paldea. And a quick side note here, at first I was considering adding Mustard and Peony as well, who were former champions of Galar in the Sword and Shield DLC, but unlike Red or N, since this is DLC, we don't fight them at the end of the base game, and we don't fight them when they were champions, so we're just gonna gloss over them for now. But if you wanted a quick look at how I'd fix their teams, they would be something like this. Anyways, let's move on. Finally, we have hit our final destination, the Paldea region. Our first combatant is Gita, the champion we face off against at the end of Scarlet and Violet's Victory Road story. Gita is a refined and composed woman who strives to nurture trainers in Paldea to become the best they can be. She's known for having a bureaucratic approach on running things, being the chairwoman of the Paldea Pokemon League, which has led to a lot of hostility between her and the gym leaders. In particular, Larry, who was forced into being a gym leader and Elite Four member on top of his job, and forcing him to pick another type for the latter. Katie, who's dissatisfied with going easy on trainers solely because her gym is the closest to the academy. Tulip, who states that her aura is bewitching and conflicts with her own. Grusha gets nervous about Gita's inspections since it's all he has left after a career-ending snowboarding injury. And Rhyme, who is annoyed that she sent the player to inspect her, wanting to prove the power of Ghost-type Pokemon. All of this is very interesting stuff for a Pokemon game story to have. You know what's not interesting? Gita's team.
Oh, there's a big surprise!
It's actually kinda abysmal. It's Pathra, Veluza, Go-Goat, Avalugg, Kingambit, and Glimora as an ace? Okay, this is one of the worst champion teams ever, simply for how she uses it. Sure, they portray her as more of a test for people looking to become champion, rather than being the best in the region, but if she's also painted as this challenging trainer, her team needs to reflect that. To make this fixed team and battle work, I'm going to approach this differently than any other champion I've talked about so far. First, we'll start the battle with Palafin, this adorable baby Pokemon who will immediately switch out for her ace Glimora in an attempt to proc its Toxic Debris ability. Then once Glimora is defeated, she'll bring Palafin back out, and players will start sweating when its hero form comes out because, well, look at these stats. Next, she'll have Annihilate, given the potential anger Gita could have being highly unfavored by the gym leaders. Though she somehow keeps herself calm, much like how Annihilate are calm in a sense due to expecting anger as part of their lives. A Pokemon like Farigiraf could also fit Gita since micromanagement is basically a fancy way of being mindful and observing their surroundings, and Farigiraf fits this mindset like a glove given it has two brains. Baxcalibur will serve as a heavy hitter and type coverage Pokemon against the grass and ground types which Palafin, Glimora, and Kingambit are weak to. Speaking of Kingambit, of course that beast is staying, and instead of Glimora terastallizing, Kingambit will terastallize into a dark type, for no quad weakness of fighting and more power on its signature move Kowtow Cleave. An all Paldea exclusive team that really does resemble Gina in a lot of ways, and I do love this team, way more than her actual one, and wish this is something Game Freak went with, but oh well, you can't win them all. And last but certainly not least, we have your Paldean rival and a trainer who already became a champion before you started your journey, Nemona. Nemona is a champion-ranked trainer who wanted to start her journey over and wanted to be a reliable guide for the player character. She's very energetic and loves Pokemon battling, which she excels at. You could say she loves it a little too much. You ever wonder why throughout the game she's so obsessed with you and making sure you become strong enough to defeat her at full strength? Or why she asked you to be her true rival for life?
When did you get in here? How did you get in my house?
Oh, me? Oh, I just broke through the window when I heard you guys say fight.
Hey, wasn't that supposed to be Pokemon proof?
She's like this because she wants you to accept her for who she really is. Her stalker vibes and obsessive nature are a bit much at times, I will admit, but there's a reason for all of this. Because of her hard work and efforts to become a skilled trainer, a lot of people at the academy don't see battling the way she does, as they just believe she just has a natural talent in battling, not including any hard work and efforts that got her to where she is. And they will often reject and run away when she offers to battle, because they know they can't beat her. This has created a wall between herself and everyone else around her. She started becoming afraid of giving it her all since it could alienate her from the people around her who want to have fun battling. All this even applies to her relationship with her family, since her parents essentially let her do what she wanted and that they were more hands-off, meaning she had to learn and grow for herself without her parents' guidance. She purposefully holds herself back in her battle so that everyone could have fun, even when she fought Gita to become a champion. Everyone but herself, that is. But thanks to the player character, who was her only hope, she's able to no longer be afraid of who she is and giving it her all, not just in Pokemon battles, but in life as well. She wanted more than just a rival. She wanted a real friend. Phew, felt like I went a little longer than anticipated, but this is a very endearing personality and development for a Pokemon rival to have, even if her obsession over you and rejecting the thought of not being your rival for life is a bit unhealthy. And now for the last time in this video, let's fix Nemona's team. For a champion level trainer, her team is okay. Lycanroc, Goodra, Orthworm, Dunsparce, Palmot, and the starter that's weaker than yours. I want her team to not only reflect her character, but to also be a tough fight to test how much you've grown as a trainer, since that's Nemona's main goal with you. We'll still keep the starter weaker than yours, which may sound a bit counterintuitive to what I want her team to be, but we're going to work around this. I'm also letting her keep her Palmot, since it's not only been her Pokemon of choice in Masters and the anime, but also being the earliest Pokemon she catches during your mini battles with her. From here on out, we're completely overhauling this team. Starting this out with a Low-Kix as the lead, since much like how Nemona wants to give it her all, Low-Kix has a showdown mode which allows it to give it its all in battle as well. Then we have Goldango, a rare and strong Pokemon with a friendly disposition. It's also made of 1,000 Gimme-Gold coins, which makes it perfect for Nemona, given her father is the CEO for the Rotom Phone Company, and her older sister will one day inherit the business. We've not developed a weakness of ground type, so let's add Arboliva, who's a tank and can hit like a truck. And last but certainly not least, we'll add one you may not have expected in Pom Pom or Choreo. Since it's not only a Pokemon to help against the fighting and bug types the team is weak to, but also matches Nemona's energetic and cheerful nature, as Pom Pom or Choreo's style of dance, cheerleading, is associated with giving energy to others. Not only that, in this generation, it just got Quiver Dance, making it a very threatening special sweeper. And with that, Nemona's team has been fixed. Finally, it's all over. And that's how I'd fix every Pokemon Champion's team, plus a few more I added in for fun. This took a lot of time out of me and I nearly got burnt out, so I hope this was worth it to all of you. Despite all that, it was really fun making this video, experimenting all the possibilities of which Pokemon fit with certain champions. Though don't expect this for the gym leaders anytime soon. There's like 64 of them, give me a break. Anyways, this has been K-Dog. Hope you all have a great day and enjoy the video. Please make sure to like the video and comment which changes you'd make to a champion's team. And also subscribe if you want more Pokemon videos like this one. I'm on the push to 1,000 subscribers, so subscribing would help me out a lot. Anyways, that's it for me. I'll see you all next time. Take care.